No more cobbles, folks. They've been replaced with a never-ending saga of short, steep hills, while the velodrome at the end has been replaced with a short, steep hill. While I'm told the atmosphere is pretty great on the Cowberg, in recent years the racing prior to it has been kinda like everyone's hanging around waiting for a big uphill sprint. They tried putting the hills closer together last year, didn't really work, so this time they added a kilometer or two after the top of the Cowberg. I should mention Amstel used to have a flat finish that created cagey tactical sprints that were bonus invariably lost by Lance Armstrong. Anyway, they tested the new finish out at Worlds last year where Philippe Gilbert waited until the final hill and, well, just look at what kit he's wearing. Looks kind of like the kit on this guy in the middle of this tremendous pileup right here. And Lars Baum, driving the pace after a big crash. That is no way to make friends. I mean, not only do you have a teammate on the deck back there, but there's 90k left and you have a group of like 20. Plus BMC is going to do an awesome job of bringing Gilbert back. Yeah, there's drafting the team car, there's the gratuitous non-brake repair, but there's also Martin Kohler dropping back to pole when traffic gets too thick for the cars, and Emile Moinard towing Gilbert up to a good position after he makes contact. The field is guttered in a crosswind right here. That's a hard effort. Plus BMC gets two guys in the front of the peloton as soon as Gilbert is tucked away. A few K later, everything's back together, good as new. Up the road, the day's break was given a huge margin, upwards of 9 minutes at one point, but Movistar and Katusha's pacemaking dropped the advantage to 3.5 by 60k to go, sending that rascal Baum out the back and almost panicking two Garmin Sharp riders into taking each other out. Johan van Summeren, their teammate in the break, attacked over the Luerberg at 56k to go, taking Euskaltel's Mikel Asterlosa and IAM Cycling's Alexandre Pliushkin with him. The Basque ditched the others over the Gulperberg a few K later, but with Green Edge and Cannondale chipping into the pacemaking, the gap continued to fall, sometimes with suspicious suddenness. The real attacks began with Peter Weening launching over the Eiserbosweg at 36k to go. By the absurd steepness of the Keutenberg 6k later, Weening had caught and dropped Van Summeren and Pliushkin, with Astana's Andre Grivko and Blanco's Lars Peter Northug and David Tanner forming a trio a few seconds down. Pliushkin managed to catch on, the quartet caught Weening, and coming into the Cowberg at 21k to go were firmly established in pursuit of a visibly laboring Asterlosa. As the pack hit the climb, the favorites seemed content to mark each other, while plucky second-tier contenders like Vacansoleil's Marco Mercado, Saxo Bank's Roman Kreuziger, and Katusha's Giancarlo Caruso began taking some of the risks the new course was designed to encourage. Over the top, Asterlosa's gap was reduced to 30 seconds, and despite some rather thoughtlessly parked cars, the chasers joined forces to catch the Euskaltel rider over the next climb, making for a leading group of 8 at 15k to go. And then, there was futzing. Neither the pack nor the escapees could quite get a handle on who was going for it, who was near death, and who was simply laying low waiting to strike. Andre Grivko was apparently more confused than anyone, throwing a monster attack on the Bemlerberg, only to be dropped almost immediately as Nordhaug and Weening countered. The Ukrainian clawed his way back, but as the camera made an absurdly long cut to the peloton to watch rider Hessedal break free, Kreuziger flew the coop while his four companions continued clucking about who was supposed to do the work. Hessedal bridged up and immediately refused to chip in with the chase, which, given the speed of the final descent, probably didn't make a difference. The pack easily swept them up. Caruso was the last survivor and signaled his defiance by nearly taking out Gilbert, who was attempting to recreate his effort from last September. The BMC rider did once again get the gap, but Green Edge's Simon Gerrans and Movistar's Alejandro Valverde kept close, striking an awkward balance between attacking and taking pulls, before reeling in the world champ at exactly 1k to go. But there was no catching Kreuziger, who, despite a somewhat wobbly post-up, proved the virtues of taking just the sort of risks these hilly classics could stand to see more of. Valverde and Gerrans filled out the podium after a late charging group prompted a suicidally long sprint from Gilbert, further suggesting that sitting on for the Cowberg hill sprint may no longer be a viable tactic. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.
Excuse me? What is your name again?
My name is Paul Kimmage. I work for Sunday Times.
Right, and just as a little preface, I might just clear up one thing. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're, excuse me? What is your name again? You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on, chair that you're sitting on.